So I woke up today with a message from Mark Goldbridge on my phone, just giving me a bit of a heads up to say that he had Christian Falk of Build over on the United stand for a chat around transfers. Great news. But he was a little bit surprised, as I was, to hear that Christian Falk mentioned a couple of times about interest in Mohamed Salah from Chelsea and that Liverpool hold interest in Jadon Sancho. Now, the latter part of that, the fact that we hold interest in Jadon Sancho, isn't really a surprise to any of us. We know that's the case. We've known that's the case for a while, and we know that there are many English clubs that are going to be interested in Jadon Sancho. Now, from Borussia Dortmund's side, they're going to want a figure close to around 80 to 82 million pound all in guaranteed for Jadon Sancho. So the key word there is guaranteed, by the way, not if we win X, if we win Y. They're going to want about 80 million quid guaranteed. But the part of it that really shocks me, and I'm sure really shocks you and annoys you guys, the thoughts that our owners, after everything that they've done around the Super League and the mistakes that they've made, would somehow entertain selling Mohamed Salah to a Premier League rival. Now, that's before we even get into how is Salah benefiting from this. He's already been at Chelsea. It didn't work out for him. I'm not saying he holds any ill feelings towards Chelsea whatsoever. But what would be the appeal of leaving Liverpool to go to Chelsea? I don't see it. I'm baffled by it. Mark was baffled by it. But it's not the first time I've heard it. I think a few weeks ago, you might remember, we spoke about it on the channel. There had been a story put out. It may actually have been Christian Falk from Bill that put the story out originally. But it was something that I think I laughed off because I just couldn't make any sense of it. Can you imagine the backlash at John W. Henry and FSG if after the whole fiasco in the Super League, Mohamed Salah plays a big part in our push for the Champions League places, scored some important goals, showed all the emotion that he did in those last few games, particularly against United when he scored that goal, and then we go and sell him? I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. Now, I think maybe originally I kind of put it that, okay, maybe this is Mohamed Salah's representatives putting a little bit of pressure on Liverpool to try and say, give Mo a new contract, which we should be doing. We should be breaking our wage structure. We should be giving Mohamed Salah an increased deal. And I don't know how we will replace his goals if he moves on. I'm shocked. I'm baffled. And I hope to God it's not true. Now, I'm not calling anybody a liar here because, of course, Christian Falk has far more contacts in the football world than I do. Far more. But I just don't see how it all ties together. I just don't see what the rhyme or reason of it is. And I'm sure that you're probably thinking similarly. Chelsea need a striker, that's fair enough, but so do we. And I've long told you guys, I love the idea of Mohamed Salah being moved centrally and played as a striker and us going out there and bringing in another wide forward. I think Mo could do that, no problem to him. And sometimes as players get a bit older, we've seen they reinvent themselves. And that's kind of what I was expecting to happen. I was more of the belief we'll get a wide forward in than we'd go and bring in a centre forward, because I thought maybe we will move Mo through the centre. But I have to say, I was as shocked as Mark when he sent me that voice note earlier on to let me know about it. And thank you to him, by the way, for letting me know. It's I don't get it. Look, the Sancho stuff, yes, of course I get that. That makes sense. Why wouldn't we be interested in a wide forward who was at Manchester City, went to the Bundesliga with Dortmund, proved himself there, became an England international, and is available this summer? That makes sense. It makes sense because that's a position we need to strengthen. What doesn't make sense to me also is the number. So, okay, you can kind of bring yourself to believe that if you moved Salah on, you brought in a youngster, not only will we probably get more for Salah than we pay for Sancho, but you're refreshing the squad's age bracket. But I think there's better ways that we could do that. An example, of course, while it's not for the same amount of money, is the news today that a couple of clubs are in for Shaqiri. So I think Sevilla are offering around 14 million from what somebody said to me earlier on. We know that Fenerbahce are back in interested in Shaqiri as they were last summer. Liverpool have told them there's no hope of a loan. They want a permanent deal for Shaqiri. And I think again around £12 million to £14 million is probably the price point that will get Shaqiri, get the interest of Liverpool for selling Shaqiri, which is roughly what we paid for him. So I think that's fair enough, to be honest with you. And then Origi as well, you've seen links with him. He was left out of the Belgium squad for the Euros. So what's going to happen with Divock? It doesn't look like he has much of a future at Liverpool. So he's potentially going to be available to move on as well. That all makes sense to me. That frees up money, frees up wages, frees up squad places. That maybe let you go and bring in somebody like a Sancho, a Neto or a Rafinha. But I don't get the Salah stuff. I'm going to dig into it as much as I can, get you guys as much information as I can over the coming days on it, because I think there'd be a meltdown, and rightly so, in the fan base if we sold our top goal scorer for the past few seasons, somebody who's come in and smashed records at Liverpool, somebody who clearly enjoys being here. You can see what it meant to him when Alisson scored, when he scored against United. And I'm flabbergasted. I don't know what else to say. I am absolutely shocked by it, and I hope it's absolute nonsense. Why do they want Mohamed Salah? Because he's a class player, mate. It's fairly straightforward. Why any club would want Mohamed Salah, because he's a damn fine footballer. Give Mo the deal now, and we won't lose him again. Shanzo, I agree. Mo is our highest paid player from what I'm aware of, and he earns around 200 grand a week before bonuses. In the open market, his value is probably a lot more than that, so I think we should absolutely sit down and give the man what he wants. The only part that I think gives us any pause for concern here is the fact that Mo is going into that last 2 years of his deal. That is worrying, I won't lie. That is worrying, because I'm yet to hear anything from the club or Salah's end to say that they've started talks over a new deal, which, you know, I think we'd have learned from the Raheem Sterling situation and many others over the years that there's a time and a place to capitalise on the goodwill and the love a player has for a club. And, you know, getting the Champions League place like we did with some of those crazy moments at the end of the season seems like a good time now to approach Mo about it. You balance that against the fact that he's getting a little bit older, that he might be away for the Olympics, that he'll be away for the AFCON, and that he's absolutely after playing a whole lot of football over the past few years, and maybe the club are looking at it differently. I hope they're not. I sincerely hope they're not, because I can't comprehend it. I said it earlier on, the idea of selling him to a rival just seems like utter stupidity to me. You know, whatever about him maybe moving on to another club, it would still hurt if he moved to, like, let's say Real Madrid, Barcelona, Paris Saint-Germain, but at least it would be outside the Premier League. I couldn't cope with seeing him in a Chelsea shirt. It would hurt way too much. What do I think Salah's transfer value is? Taking into account what he has left on his contract, I would say north of £120 million. To me, that's about the level for Mohamed Salah. You take into account his marketability, you take into account the fact that he carries a continent on his shoulders and is a proud Egyptian, and how loved he is around the world and how marketable he is. I think that's probably the number, but it shouldn't matter to us. We shouldn't even be wondering what the number is. We should be wondering how much he'll be getting a week in his new contract. That's what I'd rather happen. Did I see Alberto Moreno after the final? I did, and I thought it was, I'll be honest with you, I thought it was cringy as fuck. I might be in the minority on this one, but when I think of Alberto Moreno, I think of a brain-dead fullback that was absolutely dog shit. I'm sorry, I don't want to rewrite history, but he was fucking awful. And the fact that he's after winning the Europa League with Villarreal and he's licking Liverpool fans' backside, pretty cringy, if I'm being honest with you. It wasn't something that appealed to me whatsoever, and I'm not going to gloss back over how terrible he was at Liverpool and how many times he was caught out of position and how frustrated we all were with him. And if I was a Villarreal fan, I wouldn't be too pleased with it either, to be honest with you. They won a trophy for the first time in their history, winning the Europa League, meant that no longer are they going into the Europa Conference League, but they're now going into the Champions League, and Alberto Moreno's doing that. I didn't get it. Yeah, it was weird to me, but that's just me.